Welcome to this session. Today, we are looking at 5 phases to becoming an expert in your industry. What are the 5 phases that you must go through or you should be going through to becoming an expert in your industry? And I want to state very clearly that if you are serious at achieving success as a career person and recording financial success, one of the foundational things, one of the foundational personalities that you have to become is becoming an expert. Because becoming an expert is not the only key to success, it's one of the keys to success. For example, if you are an expert in an industry and you don't have the right relationships, you will not have full success because relationships is one of the keys to succeed in life, right? But I can categorically tell you that if you are going to succeed in your career and financially, one of the core pillars that you must have, and not only have, but be good at it, is building expertise. And I want to start today's teaching by explaining who an expert is. Because sometimes in this our community and in my trainings, I get to use the word industry expert often. And sometimes many people may not understand the dynamics or what I'm trying for them to get. Okay, so who is an expert? If I call you an expert, what am I referring to? Who are you? Who are you supposed to be called an expert? So an expert is generally somebody who has extensive knowledge. Follow the key words here very well. Extensive. You cannot have shallow knowledge, up and down knowledge, top knowledge, introductory knowledge, and call yourself an expert. No. Anybody who is called an expert in any industry commands extensive knowledge, skills, and experience in a particular field or industry or subject. 3 key things. You must have extensive knowledge, extensive skills, and extensive experience. These 3 things must come together for you to be called an expert. And some school of thought have gone further to break down this word extensive into years. That's why some people call it the 10,000 hours rule. That if you are to be called a master or an expert in a field, you must have practiced that thing over and over for at least 10,000 hours. And some people have been able to break down these 10,000 hours, and some call it you can achieve it in 7 years, in 6 years, depending on how hard you work in that field. But the fundamental fact here is you cannot have introductory knowledge in a field and claim to be an expert. Like basically, another school of thought argues that if you only have first degree level knowledge in a field, you are not an expert. Like if you have only done 3 years program in a field, basically, first degree, like we call it in some African countries, and yeah, in America, they call it undergraduate program. You are not really an expert, but you can be an expert when you have a first degree and you have also done extensive personal studies to grow yourself in a field beyond your school curriculum. As long as it's extensive and you can actually become skillful. But it's talking about extensive knowledge, skills, and experience. The knowledge is the theoretical acquisition of principles, content, what other people have written, other experts have written in that field. Now, extensive skills is your ability to deploy the knowledge you have acquired. So if you have only studied theoretically without developing practical skills that you can use from that knowledge, you are not an expert, because an expert must be able to use that knowledge. You must be able to develop skills. Skill is what you can do. What can you actually do and produce results? That is now skills. It is possible to have knowledge without skills. There are people who have read marketing, but they cannot actually do marketing. They have the knowledge about marketing, but they cannot sit down and develop a marketing strategy, develop a marketing plan, go to the field and execute this plan and get people to buy the product. So you need to develop hands-on skills, the ability to use the knowledge, and then experience. Experience is the time that you have spent in practicing in that industry. You cannot just leave school. You just left your undergraduate after 3 years. You don't even have a job in that industry. You barely have 2 months internship or 2 months volunteering, and you expect to be called an expert. What kind of experience do you have to be called an expert? No. So how long you have also been using the knowledge and your skills qualifies you as an expert. And the outcome of your experience is your contribution in that industry and also the result you have been able to create. There are many people that move around and call themselves expert, and they are not really expert. If you begin to follow these basic explanations, they still have some time and they still have some work to do. The good news is this session is focusing on how to become that expert. So I'm explaining for you to understand so you can begin to rate yourself. You don't wake up one morning, you're excited and begin, because we now live in a generation of titles. Beautiful titles, but no results. Beautiful titles, but no track record, no credibility in what they're talking about. So an expert is anybody who has extensive knowledge, skills, and experience in a particular industry or in a particular subject area. Another thing about expertise is recognition. Anybody who is recognized for their expertise and they are sought after for their advice. If you are somebody that other bodies, other institutions have recognized you, it means you're an expert. And then you take it a step further where other bodies and individuals have not only recognized you, but they seek you for your advice and your opinion. That is an expert. That is an expert. For example, I think 2 days ago, let me show you an example of what I'm talking about, recognition. So I explain better. Let me see if the letter is on my desktop. Because it's very important for people to understand. Did I download it on my desktop? This came in 2 or 3 days ago. So I want to talk about the recognition part. So that I explain, because many people don't get to understand this very well. So if I explain it with a proof, it's going to be easy for people to understand. Because this is very important for you to be qualified or to be respected as an expert, because it's very critical. Now, that statement, I was saying that becoming an expert also means that you have so grown in your field, you have so gathered extensive knowledge, skills, and experience that other people and institutions now recognize you for your expertise. So, example, this is my latest stuff. So, this is they call it Association for Occupational Safety and Health of Cameroon. So it's an international body in the UK and then Cameroon office. So they reached out to me and they said they want to make me a UK International Fellow. They're giving me UK International Fellow Membership Award, right? And if you read It is because they are recognizing the work and all of that I have done in the field of business and all of that across Africa, right? So that's basically the stuff of this letter. So that's why they say, following your influential role in both the private sector and public sectors in Cameroon, promoting the fellow membership committee have done this, etc. Right? Now, why am I bringing this? Because that's why this also goes into, right, you must have heard about honorary doctorate degrees. You must have, like, for example, I have these recognitions from India, from the US, from UK, from the Middle East, from different countries, from Nigeria to Kenya, right? So, because this doesn't just come overnight, these are legalized institutions, highly respected globally. So they track you, they stumble upon your work, it could be your books, it could be your shows, it could be whatever, and they say, oh, this man commands influence and expert in this area. And then most of these organizations, that's why it's like Chartered Association of Accountants, Chartered Marketers, Chartered Business Managers, Association of this and that, universities giving you honorary doctorate degree here and there, all of these things. It is proof of expertise. It is proof of acknowledgement of your contribution in a particular industry, in a particular region, or globally, right? So one way to also start rating how you have grown as an expert is how you are being recognized. Like, for example, like you must have read about what they call rankings. Top 10 experts in this area, top 20 experts in this area. Like I've been featured, I think, 8 times in rankings globally among top 100 expert in entrepreneurship, top 50 expert in human resource, top this expert in this. That you only get that based on extensive knowledge, skills, experience. And as I said earlier, this is not only based on what you know, it's based also on your contribution. Maybe writing books, writing articles, speaking in conferences, and all of that contributing. The second part that I was talking about was when you have also grown where your opinion or your advice is being sought after. That's also another way to rate if you're an expert. This is where now media houses come to you. This is where now, media houses. You can talk of magazines. You can talk of how do they call it again? Yeah, magazines, TV stations, radios, any media house that comes to you to ask you questions. Like I've had the privilege to be interviewed by BBC a couple of times, international magazines for different issues, international NGOs, United Nations, all of this, they just come and ask for my advice. Embassies, like for example, I've provided advice to many embassies who are just coming to Cameroon and they want to know about the Cameroon ecosystem in business. They will now invite some business expert and have them over lunch or over breakfast, and then the ambassador and the economic affairs officer, they'll be asking you questions. Okay, tell us about this. Tell us about this in your country. Tell us about this in business. Tell us about this. So when certain institutions and individuals start asking for your advice and opinion, is another matrix to use to rate your expertise. And these are things that you don't need to force people to see. That's why you don't need to force people to call you an expert. These things, people should see what you're doing. People should see these things happen around you, and you can start rating yourself there. You understand? And you don't need to take 20 years, 50 years. No, you don't need to do that. You just need to have extensive knowledge, extensive skills, extensive experience. The difference is for you to really be extensive, it's going to take time. But it should not take you too much time. You don't need to have gray hair to be called an expert. I don't have gray hair, but I've paid the price. I've told you guys about paying the price of mastery. You understand? You just need to pay the price to gather the extensive knowledge and the extensive experience and skills in that area. All right. Do you now understand who an expert is? Just type in the chat box, yes. Do you have proper understanding now of who an expert is? Like, for example, you see on a TV channel, maybe that like that interview me on a national TV and all of that, say, okay, expert in business, expert in this. Let's say, like many times when they say new tax law or when they say new economic policy and all of that, BBC will get to me, CRT will get to me, local channels will get to me, newspapers will get to me, and they'll say, expert in this, expert in this. What they're trying to say is we are talking to somebody who has extensive knowledge, extensive skills, and extensive experience in this field. That's who they're looking for. Okay? So this is very important to understand. Because when you understand, you start knowing how far you have to go to reach the top. There are many young people that may never really reach the top of success because they are just beating the bush up and down. They are just beating the bush. They don't have a structured process to rise to the top. One thing that saved me was I was very conscious. I knew that, hey, for me to get to where I need to go, I need to be focused. And let me tell you something. For you to grow to the level of expertise, you need to be comfortable with the process. If you are not comfortable with the process, forget about becoming an expert. You are not comfortable to get a book that is 300 pages, big book, and sit quietly and study for weeks. If you are not willing to study extensively for years and months consistently, and not this, there is no graduation in the journey of becoming an expert. There is none. Every day you are studying. Every day you're studying. Why? Because you need to always be up to date with latest developments. Now, let me give you 3 top qualities of an expert. Then we'll go to the 5 phases. This is the introduction of this session. 3 top qualities of an expert. That means I want to give you, there are many aspects at top. If you want to call yourself an expert, rate yourself with these 3 qualities. If you command excellent level of growth in these 3 qualities, you can begin to call yourself an expert in that industry. Right? You're an expert in healthcare. You're an expert in agriculture. I think let me explain what's an industry, right? No, let me give you 3 qualities of an expert if I tell you what an industry is, because sometimes I also say industry people don't know what it means. Now, let's look at quickly the top 3 qualities of an expert. So if you want to call yourself an expert, you need to have the following 3 qualities. Number 1, knowledge. Knowledge, that's the foundation and knowledge in that industry. Theoretical knowledge is the first of it all. An expert is expected to possess a deep understanding of their field of expertise, including its history. You must know what the industry has been. If you're in agriculture, for example, you want to be called an expert in agriculture. Where was agriculture 100 years ago? Where is agriculture at the moment? Right now, when we're talking agriculture, we're talking about apps. We're talking about machine learning and AI. We're talking about modern day equipment. But 100 years ago, is that how agriculture was being done? No. A good expert knows the history of their industry, knows the current state of the industry, and anticipate the future trends. Where will this industry be 10 years from now? Where will this industry be 20 years from now? That is the knowledge we're talking about. If you are here and you are in an industry and you don't know where your industry is coming from, at least 50 years behind, go and study. Go and study. You're missing a very important pillar. How will you know how evolution and innovation is happening in your industry? How will you talk about it? They put you on TV now and they ask a certain question, you'll be lost. But you'll be claiming that you are an expert. So you must have knowledge. You must command knowledge, deep understanding of your field, including the history of your field, the current state, the present state of your industry, and the future trends. Okay? The second quality of an expert, experience. Experience. An expert must have experience, practical experience in your field of expertise. An expert is that person that must have applied the knowledge and the skill that they have acquired in real world situations and to have a track record. Yes. An expert must have applied their knowledge and their skills in real world situations and have a track record of their success. Like I always say, how can you call yourself a business expert and you don't even have a failed business? You call yourself a career expert or a this expert. You need to use that knowledge that you claim that you can advise other people. Do something for yourself first. That's always my philosophy. So the second quality of an expert is what? Experience. And the third quality of an expert is communication. Oh, yes. An expert should be able to communicate his or an idea. You cannot claim to be an expert and you cannot speak clearly and concisely. You cannot claim to be an expert and you cannot communicate your ideas. You cannot communicate your insights. You cannot communicate your opinions. You cannot communicate your recommendations clearly and effectively. Every expert should be able to tailor their communication to different people. Yes, you must be, if you are talking to university students, tailor to the way they can understand. If you are talking to your fellow experts, tailor it the way they will understand. If you are talking to government leaders, tailor it the way they understand. An expert can communicate anything in their field to any audience and with confidence. That's why every expert should have public speaking skills. Good communication skills are essential for an expert to influence other people in their field. Every expert must have the right communication skills to influence people in their field. So these three qualities are very important. As I said earlier, you go through this session and take action consistently, you will change your career. Are you being challenged? Are you learning something new? Confirm in the chat box. Leave me a comment. Are you learning something new? I want to be sure so that I'm not shouting here alone. Let's go. Are you being challenged? Are you being positioned somewhere? Good. You can become an expert in any field. Any field. I don't care. Any field. Cosmetics, woodwork, whatever field, any field, you can become top expert in that field. I want to talk about an industry. I think it's important because many times in my teaching, I use industry expert. I use industry, understand your industry, understand dynamics in the industry, understand this. Sometimes many people don't really just understand. Let me break it down briefly, right? An industry is a group of businesses. Simple. An industry is a group of businesses who produce and provide similar products or services and operate in a similar market. That's an industry. A group of businesses who produce similar products, similar services, and operate in a similar market. That's why you can call the Cameroon agricultural industry. And you can also call it the global industry. If I say the global agricultural industry, what I'm trying to say is all companies, all businesses that produce similar products in the agricultural sector and operate on Earth. So it doesn't include a company that operates in Mars or Jupiter, right? Yes. That's an industry. So that's why you can call it the education industry. Education industry involves organizations, schools, and businesses that produce any product or service that is related to education. If I say the technology industry, I say the healthcare industry, I'm talking about businesses in that sector, in that area, that produce similar products or similar services and operate in a similar market. That's why Africa, we're called the African agricultural industry. It means we're excluding other continents and we're focusing on the African industry as far as agriculture is concerned. Okay. I think let me also add here 3 top characteristics that make an industry. It's important to know this as a professional. 3 top characteristics that make up an industry. Number 1, common products and services. That's the first characteristics that makes our industry. Common products and services, right? And this is where you can clearly define that industry by how they provide common or related products and services. For example, as I was saying, we can talk about the car manufacturing industry. The car manufacturing industry is made up of companies and businesses that produce cars and related products like tires, batteries, engines. You get the concept? Yes. That's the first characteristics of our industry, common products and services. The second characteristic is a shared market. They share the same market. Businesses within an industry operate within the same or similar market. It could be regional, it could be national, and it could be international. You can talk about the Cameroon industry, as I was saying, or the Canadian car manufacturing industry operating in that country, or regionally, the South American, the African, the Middle East, right? Then similar business practices. That's the third characteristic of our industry. Similar business practices. Similar business practices, right? So if, like for example, if you ever work with different lawyers, you understand that different lawyers have fundamental ways that they do their practice. If you have worked with different accounting firms, you see that they have a particular way that they operate. If you have gone to hospitals, for example, you see that most hospitals have a particular way that they consult patients. Do you understand that? Even farmers, you're going to say at some point, it's not always very, very the same copy for copy, but you will see some possible similarities. You get the concept? Yes. So the businesses that operate in that sector have similar practices. It could be from business models to the way they price their products. Like for example, let's say in the petroleum industry, if you see, you go to this gas station, the price of petrol or fuel is this, and you go to another gas station, the difference could be about maybe $2, $5, or depending on the country where you are, very little difference. So there's similarities in the practices, right? Yes. So, and it's good to understand these fundamentals. Now, let's quickly look at the 5 phases you need to go through to becoming an expert, and then we conclude. If you are going to become an expert, these are the 5 phases that you need to go through. Number 1 is the dreamer. This is the first phase that everybody goes through. I went through this phase. There is nobody who is an expert today that did not become a dreamer first. A dreamer is that maybe you just see it one time and you just develop that passion for that industry. Oh, you know what? I love digital marketing. But you did not read it in school. Maybe you did but history in school. Maybe you studied psychology. But you just developed this new passion for digital marketing. Right? Yes, that's the first step. That's the first step. You are just a dreamer. Then from there, you move now to step 2, where you become what they call the reporter, where you begin to learn about that passion. You can now go on YouTube. You now go on Google. You now begin to ask people, hey, tell me, when they really say this thing, digital marketing, what do they mean? You even start buying books. Start reading about it. Remember, we spoke about extensive knowledge. You can even decide and go back to school and do a short 6 months diploma program in that field, whatever. But you are learning about that passion. You are learning about that industry. For some people, they did this while they were in school. Like for me, I had the privilege that I started reading business since secondary school. Since from one in the year 2002, when I entered secondary school, I entered the commercial section, right? I was reading commerce and finance, business math, accounting, economics. All of these things were already part of me. So that for some people, you can start being a dreamer position at a very early age. I remember at a very young age in 2003 or so, I asked my mom, what does it take to work in a World Bank? And she said, study economics and study maths, right? And so it depends. You can still be a dreamer now, or some of you already dreamers long time ago, and it's possible that you also lost the dream, you also lost the interest in the industry, and maybe you studied what your parents forced you to study. It's also possible. So there's not a particular age where these things begin to happen. It all depends on where you are in life and when it happened to you. Like for me, I became a reporter right from secondary school. In high school, I did 4 subjects, like in the Cameroon education system. I did accounting, I did commerce and finance, I did business management, I did marketing. I did 5, and then I did business math. Right? And so I was really learning about business and this stuff at a very, very early age. In same at what undergraduate, where I did my undergraduate in financial management, still learning about it. I did my MBA in it. I did my doctorate degree in it. So you're still learning. And I want to say that this reporter process is a continuous process. You don't retire from learning. So you're always growing. So if you look at this little sketch here, 1 and 2, you can call it your growth stage. So here, you are not yet an expert that can really guide. You cannot really provide, people can only seek your opinion here. You understand? Yes. Now, but when you do this very well, remember we spoke about, for you to become an expert, you need to have extensive knowledge, extensive skills, and extensive experience, right? So 1 and 2 is where you are gathering extensive knowledge. Now, 3, the third phase to becoming an expert is where you can call yourself a framework creator. This is where you begin to build framework from your extensive knowledge to help people or to help yourself start solving the problem with your knowledge. For example, let's go back to our digital marketing example. You start reading about digital marketing and social media marketing. You can decide by creating your own Facebook page, creating your Twitter account, and make sure that you use the knowledge you're acquiring to grow your followers and to manage your page and to build your digital presence in a way that you can also use it as an example. So you're also using yourself to build your experience. Remember, so you begin to build frameworks from your knowledge. Oh, I have learned this. How can I use this? How can I practically use this knowledge? What step-by-step process can I go through to use this knowledge to solve this particular problem in my life? How can I use this knowledge to solve this problem in my mother's life or in my father's life? You get the concept. And that's when you enter the contribution stage, because anybody who is called an expert is a contributor. If you are not contributing to yourself, you're not contributing to any business, to the society as a whole, to the industry as a whole, you cannot call yourself an expert, because experts contribute. Experts solve problems. So you enter the contribution stage. Contribution stage is when you are using what you have acquired in the growth stage, right? You begin to create frameworks. You can even create a course for other people. Then now frameworks creator and stage phase 4 is linked. You now become a servant. Servant here means you are serving. You are of service. You are using your knowledge that you have acquired and your skills to serve other people. You are not only using it for yourself now, you are going towards other people. Like me, for example, when I started consulting with small businesses in Kumbo in 2011 and 12, I will go to buy and sell them a small business. I'll begin to advise them, oh, this is how to speak to customers. This is how to do this. This is how to manage your business finances. This is how to separate your money from your business money. I began to test frameworks with them. You understand? Begin to test. Sometimes there are some things that you do and they work for you, but you cannot just take and just begin to market it abruptly. You may need to test with outsiders a little again. Use it and serve them. Every framework must be tested beyond your comfort zone so that you can see the real appreciation of that. From there, now you now enter phase 5. This is the phase where, people now call themselves, I am a coach, I am a consultant, I am a trainer, I am this, I am that. They actually command extensive expertise. They actually command some level of skills and some level of experience, and they are now leading others to their solutions. This is where you can even do extensive marketing. You're even building a website. You're even organizing conferences. Not out of guesswork, not out of excitement, not because you want to post on Facebook to claim that you're a coach and all of that. No, because you have actually paid the price of mastery and you have gone through the process. From stage 1 to stage 5, for some people, it can take 20 years. For some people, it can take 10 years. But all I know is that it will take you years. I cannot begin to tell you it will take you months. There's no way you can absorb extensive, quality, impactful, significant knowledge, skills, and experience that you can be called an expert in months. There is no way. It's going to take you years. But of course, there are people that start and in a few months, they go to the market, they just start making noise and doing stuff here and there and messing up while learning in the field. Some people do that. Whatever the case is, it's better to go through the processes and do it right. There are some people that, because of social media, they have skipped stage 2. They have not really sat, and stage 2 is one of the longest stages, let me tell you. Stage 2 is one of the longest phases. If you miss out on stage 2, there are many people that, like in the African setting, when they dream, they just develop passion for something. Oh, I want to become a coach. I want to become a trainer. And then they go attend somebody's seminar or they go read a book. And since they are fluent and they can hold the mic and talk, boom, they just go organize their own seminar. No, they are not experts. They are just copy and paste. They are just amateurs. And the funny thing, one thing I like about the marketplace is you can do that for 20 years and you will never be called to a certain platform because they know. You don't even have things in your industry that they can reference you and recognize you for it. Because expertise is beyond just doing certain things. There are certain things that as an expert by default you have. Like intelligent articles, like publishing books, like people going online and see you being interviewed in blogs, magazines, and TV. Those things that they naturally start seeing those things around you. They go on their social media platform, they see how you are talking about it. They go online, they can see your undergraduate thesis or your MBA thesis, whatever. Like I always say something funny. How do you call yourself an expert? And your first degree end of year project is not online where somebody can even study, read, reference you in their own research. When you are writing that project, you are reading other people's papers and you are referencing them. Now you have finished your own, you have not published your own. How do you want to contribute to your industry? Let me ask all of us here, all of you who are graduates, how many of you have your undergraduate or first degree project on the internet where people can reference? Indicate. If you have it online and it's public online, indicate, say I have. And I can bet majority, more than 90% of this class, they are graduates. You see? So how do you even expect other people to even look at you and respect you as an expert when there's no work of yours? You have no body of work that people can consume. You get the concept? So this is the process that you need to go through. Again, as I said, there's no graduation because you still stage. Maybe we should have put stage 6 here and say continuous learning. So phase 6 is continuous learning. There's no graduation in the school of expertise. There's no graduation because professors will keep suggesting new practices. Other experts will keep discovering new things and writing books and papers and all of that. As long as people are creating, people are contributing to the industry, you need to be updating yourself and staying up to date with those latest developments. So this is what it means to be an industry expert.